G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and this is the Let's Draw live video where I take your requests on my Twitch channel, and today's winning request is Spyro, requested by Weta Bixby. Now Spyro is visually a much more simple character than some of the other ones we've done in Let's Draws, but that doesn't mean he won't be fun to do. Similar to the characters in the other Let's Draws though, and with characters in general, we work with simple and basic shapes to begin with and kind of refine it as we go. Starting off with the basic shapes for the head and the torso, I begin adding features like the legs and the nose and starting to rough out the shape of the character. When adding refinement and detail for where the features of the face are and other more important parts of the figure, just slowly add darker lines in the areas that you know the shape is starting to work while you start to rough in the details and refine it as you go. One of the most important things to keep in mind when drawing a more simplistic cartoon character is to really work with silhouette. Have a strong character profile and make sure that the edges that you're working with are really strong and work into each other really well, and you're showing off the important shapes and features of the character through their silhouette and pose. Alright, so I'm happy with how the sketch has come along now, and the next part is the line work. Now you'll notice that with the silhouette of this character, rather than kind of using too many curves and keeping things really soft, I actually add some quite solid blocky edges, especially for characters that are more cartoony, like here at the horn and at some of the curves in the body. I think this helps add a bit of solidity and character to the illustration, so that's something that I do, especially with more cartoony characters. I'm doing my line work with my Copic multi-liners because they don't run when I use Copic markers over them, and I'm just trying to make it look as clean and solid as possible. So now I'm ready to add the color after I've done the line work and erased my original construction lines, and you can see that very quickly the image pops and looks a lot crisper than it did when it was in its original sketch form. So I'm going to be coloring in this piece with Copic markers. Copic markers are an alcohol-based marker and they create some really cool blending effects, which I'm going to show you in a moment. These videos and the Let's Draw live videos in general are sponsored by Copic Australia, so make sure to check out their product and see their awesome range of stuff. I definitely recommend getting yourself a set if you really want some high-end professional markers. And I've pre-planned the colors that I'm going to be using. So I've got the purples and the pinks and the golds that I'm going to be using. Now I don't go into this detail in other videos, but what I actually do with every video is I pre-plan the color schemes that I use. So I have this kind of book of blending paper that I just kind of scribble my markers down until I find the combination of markers that I'm going to use. So make sure before you actually use the markers on the paper that you test and play with it first and find the combination that you want and that you know works. When using markers, always start off with the lighter colors first. So I'm going to be starting off with the golds and the yellows, just so that when I use the other markers, I don't later mix in the lighter markers and accidentally smear them or make any marks that might ruin the piece. For the yellows, I'm laying down a base of Y00 barium yellow, then the mid-tones are going to be the Y08 acid yellow, and then the darker tones of the Y17 golden yellow. I'm leaving a light edge on the very outside edges of the Spyro character just to make it look like there's some backlighting behind him. My purple skin tone is done with a base of V12 pale lilac. My mid-tones will be a V15 mallow, and then my shadows are the V17 amethyst. Once I've laid down my base tone, I can start adding layers to get that really cool blending effect that Copic markers can get. To do this, I start laying down a mid-tone and then my shadows, and then return to the previous highlight base color and just simply reapply in a bit of a circular motion to get the alcohol in both colors to mix and create that blended effect. So now I have my final sort of salmon-y coloured wings. I'm going to be using the YR02 light orange as the base, with the E13 light suntan as the mid-tone, and the E07 light mahogany for my dark tones. So now I'm ready for my finishing touches, and I'm going to add a few little nifty effects. The first effect I'm going to add is I'm going to get my yellow that I used before, my Y00, and I'm going to add this to the edges of the purple of the character's skin. This will just kind of help add a little variation in the tone and kind of add a little bit of a golden hue behind the character. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the colorless blender. So this is one of those markers in the Copic set of markers that has always sort of been mysterious to me. When I first used Copics, I didn't understand the point of the colorless blender. What is it? It's just essentially alcohol. So I didn't ever really understand the need for it or how to use it. I also didn't know that colors blended, but I use the colors to blend into each other, whereas the colorless blender, because it doesn't have color, will tend to desaturate what you apply it to. So this actually can be quite useful, and what I'm going to use it for is to add a bit of an effect to this character and to make areas of him look like he has scales. For example, if I just kind of lightly draw little dots in here, you'll notice over time it kind of pushes the colored ink to the side, creating a really subtle effect. It's really not that strong, but if I go over the same areas and just kind of keep applying it, we actually get this sort of pattern effect. And I'm going to be using this throughout the character to add a little texture, to add a few scales to the creature. So that's a fun little trick you can use, and you can see that the effect is quite subtle, so it really doesn't jump out, but again, it also helps up break the monotony where the gradient was a little kind of flat in color. Now we just have a little textural interest. So the very last things I'm going to do is go around the outside with a Pentel pocket brush and add a slightly thicker, cartoonier outline, and then add a few finishing touches with my white marker. And that brings us to the end of our illustration, and I'm happy with the result. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, make sure to join future Twitch live streams by clicking the link on the screen and in the description. And as always, the last thing I do with these Let's Draws is to dedicate it to the person who requested it. So this was requested to Weeda Bixby. Thanks for joining the stream, and thank you for those who watch this on YouTube. That's it for now, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, I'll see you later.